Hey everybody, welcome to the Observability Podcast. Today we're joined by Ryan Fuson of Holy Wave, a pioneer force in the modern psychedelic rock scene. For over 14 years, Ryan has helped shape Holy Wave's distinctive sound, pushing those creative boundaries while exploring various musical landscapes from garage band rock to shoegaze. Beyond his work as a multi-instrumentist, Ryan brings unique insights into the intersection of technology and creativity, both in music and his work in film production. Today, we'll explore his musical journey, creative process, and perspectives on how technology is reshaping the musical landscape. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Everybody, welcome back to the Observability Podcast. And I'm Tony, and that's Tim here with me, my buddy and my partner there. He does a lot for us, as you've seen over the past episodes, with the intros and the outros. So really appreciate that. And for those of you who are just joining us, this is a show about basically observability, IT guys and all the things that we do. But we also believe that there's some sort of connection between IT people and musicians, specifically like guitarists, rock guitarists. There's some sort of connection there because we've seen it. Tim and I have been in this business now for 35 years. Tim, what about you now? Birth, right. So a long time. And I think like both of us, and we've talked to other people, there's a connection. So, we've had a couple of complaints lately on the podcast that we do too much talking about just straight up geek stuff. And we've had a couple of complaints that we said that we're all about music and then we don't talk about music. So Tim and I couldn't be more excited today to welcome Ryan Fuson here with us, who has been historically the lead singer for Holy Wave, which is a heck of a band, and still continues as a singer for the band. And so anyways, number one, first, Ryan, thank you for coming on the show. I know you're probably like, what? These geeks, why would we be here? But we really do believe that there's some connection between, and actually, Ryan, Tim always says that music is math. So it's the same thing. So first, just welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I think that nerdiness and music go hand in hand.
That's because nobody liked us when we were young because we were nerds. So we learned to play guitar to meet the girls, right?
Yeah, that's the lie. The truth is, it's just a nerdy thing, Yeah. Yeah, we're all from El Paso, Texas. And we all moved here, I guess, when we were about 21. And so Holy Wave is a totally awesome thing, but we all started playing bands in El Paso. I think we all developed our interests, our styles, our taste for music all in El Paso. I like to think that, there is, for anybody from El Paso, you can tell we're from El Paso, but for anyone else, maybe you can, maybe you can't, but I think we do sound like an El Paso band, kind of.
When y'all were young, what age did y'all start? Because I read y'all were like at each other's houses jamming.
Yeah, me and Kyle started playing music when we were... he taught me how to play music, really, when I was about 13, I guess. And so we've been playing together since then, 13 or 14, I guess, probably 14. And the other two guys, they started bands together when they were in high school as well. And we none of us met until we were 18, but we were playing separately. And then we started playing, we were in like two punk bands that we started playing together around 18. And then we kept playing together until we moved to Austin and started like a super group, I guess.
Okay, because I was going to ask you, what was the transition to go from El Paso to Austin?
Well, in El Paso, anybody that wants to pursue any kind of like artistic endeavor, you're kind of not, unfortunately, the infrastructure is not really there in El Paso to like progress. So people are either, for El Paso, people normally either move to Austin or LA. And LA was just a little too far for us, I think, at the time.
Yeah, just a little bit, right?
Just a little bit. We had tried to move there or to San Diego or any, those Southern California places. But to us, we were really into the Ringo Death Star and the Black Angels and other Austin bands. And we just felt like that was a better fit for us.
Yeah, very cool. And what was the California connection? Didn't you guys go out there for some time?
We never lived there, but we have a lot of really good friends there. We spent a lot of time there. We recorded there before. We love LA. I mean, I think the connection for us is that we're all like, most of us in the bands, or I guess me and the drummer, we come from like, we're half Mexican, half like Anglo-American. The other guys in the band are from El Paso, so they're from a culture, they might be, for lack of better words, like just like a regular white Americans, but they come from a culture of Latin culture and culture, like the schools they went to, the people they hung out with. And so I think for all of us in El Paso in the band, LA just kind of fits with us because it's kind of the same environment. It's like a big city version of El Paso. I mean, the food is similar, the people, a lot of I don't know, it just feels like a big version of El Paso, more than Austin does. Kind of.
Where'd you play in Austin? What's your biggest, like that main street I used to go to and listen to bands?
Oh, 6th Street?
6th Street, yeah.
I don't know if you've ever played a show on West 6th. In the music front, East 6th Street is kind of more the like club rock venue kind of circuit. And we played there a bunch of times. Played all over Austin, but never got, we did a music video one time on West, just because on the Saturday night, like on the West 6th Street, it's just a bunch of wasted people. And we did a music video one time where we just walked through all of the hordes of people. It's
wow.
Yeah.
I got to check that out. Tim, what do you think, man?
I think it's kind of cool. So I grew up in Athens, Georgia, right out. Yeah. Really about 45 minutes from there. You don't live in Athens unless you go to UGA, right? And then we had crappy music. I'm old, so I grew up with the 80s, but we had crap music like B-52s and, REM, Driving and Crying. Yeah, it was good, but I came out of the 80s, Eddie Van Halen going into B-52s, and it was like, okay, where's the guitar, right? So that was a trade-off. But now I live in Nashville, so there's music everywhere here.
Nashville, for some reason, is tough. I feel like unless you play, it's tough for, and this might just be our experience, but we have friends. We've had some pretty good shows in Nashville, but if you're not playing country, I feel like it's a little hard.
Yeah, and I don't do country. I guess you can tell with the Van Halen guitars and the shredders behind me. You're 100% right. The problem in Nashville is everybody plays and everybody does something. Right. Even my neighbor across the road owns a studio. There's a guy down the road. And we're not talking about like I got a little home studio. Right. And I'm going to talk to you about that in a few minutes. But they've got like professional studios in their basement, which is funny because for the longest time, my wife and I thought he sold drugs. Right. Because you kept getting these cars show up at late at nights and staying over. And finally, I saw his wife. I'm like, all right, what do y'all do? Are you but the point in Nashville, yeah, it's just too much competition. We didn't move here for the music, obviously. We just wanted out of Atlanta. So we went from Athens to Atlanta.
Like a lot of, I mean, I love the city.
Yeah.
Our first time ever going there, I think, was in 2013 maybe, and played at, it's like a complex that has like 3 venues on top of each other.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. It reminds me of Masquerade in Atlanta. But yeah.
I forget what it's called. I want to say the Earl, but I think that's in Atlanta actually. But anyways,
yeah.
We played there and our window got busted in while we were playing. And so the next day we called somebody to repair our window. And while they were doing that, I think we were able to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with like a CD of ours or something like that, if I remember correctly.
That is cool. Yeah. The cool thing about growing up in Athens, and I'm going to ask a question here. So growing up in Athens, music was everywhere, right? And technically I lived in Helen, which is probably about 45 minutes north of Athens. Like I said, you don't live in Athens unless you're going to UGA, right? Unless you're a student or part of the UGA team, right? The football team. But with seeing that every weekend, I was playing just to pay for gas and just having fun. And it really was more of a job because like I said, I'm old, right? 50s. And back then we didn't have a lot of internet. There was a lot of things. It really was a job, right? So we had to learn crap we didn't want to learn just to play on stage, cover bands here and there. And it was kind of cool. We got to open up for REM one time and just,
Oh, wow.
yes. So it was kind of cool. When was that? Oh, that would have been in the 90s. So probably about 90. Yeah, somewhere around early 90s.
I mean, they were still massive at that time. I mean, right?
Yeah, so they, not to digress, but there was a band, there's a radio station called 99X. I don't know if you've ever heard them. And they just brought them back. And they were really big about promoting locals music, which is really cool. So if you had a really good band, like they had the big venues, a big day out where you had famous people playing, and they'd always throw these little amateur bands in there. And we were always part of the amateur bands. So it was really, really cool. So it was really, but my point that is there was no technology, right? There was no, you really just got your guitar and you played, right? And you learned. So I'm going to ask you, in modern day, how do you go about writing? How do you go about thinking? Tony was making the comment about technology, but these days, I sit in my office and just turn on, Logic Pro and just record. I don't even own an amp anymore, right? I use the Helix. So, how do you think about doing your recording, your playing?
Well, man, it's kind of ironic that I'm the person you guys invited on this podcast because I still keep things very analog at times.
Oh no, I love analog. Yeah.
So we have like a Tascam 388 that we use, which is a 1/4-inch 8-track machine. But the thing is, like, we'll still obviously, throughout our history recording, we always have the conversation with the engineers, like, oh, analog's better, right? And every time they're like, honestly, like, you really can't tell the difference. Like, even like professionals at this point, like, it's really difficult. You can maybe feel it a bit different between a traditional straight analog recording or digital. But so, after hearing that a million times, I ended up getting Logic, and I love it. So easy. Being able to, for me, the exciting thing with programs like Logic or what's the other one called, the Ableton, things like that, is
Ableton, yep,
is more in sampling, in like live production, where you can take stems that you have from recordings and then play them live, sample live, things like that. That's kind of, that's exciting to me. That's super exciting. That's like pretty much, I think you kind of have to do that if you're going to progress in the future of music. You can still, I'm sure somebody can, Timothy Chalamet is becoming popular singing Bob Dylan songs with an acoustic guitar, and people, there's always going to be people wanting to hear that. But I think in order to be competitive now, you have to, you have to be plugged into all of these software, these modern music engineering softwares and whatnot.
Yeah. So I got a really bad question. I'm going to throw Tony under the bus for this one.
Thanks.
So Tony is a super AI guy. And I'm old school. I grew up in the 80s. I like the Marshall amp and the Les Paul, just because that's who I am, right? The better rock, the better. But with AI coming out, what is your theory on that in music? And Tony can talk about that all day long.
Well, I'm going to say that, like anything else, there's no avoiding it, right? It's here to stay. And I think that there is definitely a way to, I think everyone's afraid that it's going to, and in some regards, it will replace humans, in the sense of, like, people used to make a living writing jingles. People used to make livings doing mastering, right? Just mastering. I do think in some regards, AI is going to start taking those jobs, the jobs that are truly only mathematical, right? But I do think there's a way to use AI in a creative way that keeps people still driving the ship, in the sense where I had a friend that he would be like, dude, check this out. I'm going to write a song right now. And he like had these lyrics ready. He's like, I'm going to tell AI to make this sound like an REM. He specifically said REM.
Wow, that's crazy.
And he would send us, he was my boss. That's how I was working on the set. And he would send us this song. It sounded like REM, but he would tell him the singer to not sound like Michael Stipe or something. I don't remember, but it's a RM song with his lyrics. It generated a melody, it generated the beat, it generated bridges, choruses, everything. And then he would take that and he would chop it up and rearrange things and then add some of his own things to it. And I'm like, okay, well, at that point, it's almost just like you're sampling things that have never been released anymore, right? And if you do it in that way, you can still be creative and write original music, I think. It's for people that are just generating a song. Like, I have a Band-Aid brand and I need a song for my commercial. That is, and that's unfortunate that people are going to do that because it's cheaper. But in another way, it can still be creative and awesome, I think.
Yeah. So as we're talking, Tony's probably knocking out a song right now.
It is crazy, yeah. The difference. As a matter of fact, we've got a little surprise for you today, Ryan, that sort of goes along that path. Yeah, I'm sort of excited to show you. But before, I did want to ask something, sort of following up a little bit on what Tim asked. Like, he asked about your creative process in writing and everything. And my question was, what got, I guess, your sound, or you and Holy Wave sound is so dreamy, and then what I get, this is only my take, it's very dreamy, and then what I get is in the middle or sometimes toward the end of the song, you start hearing these really good riffs just sort of coming out, and it's sort of cool. I think you said one time something about, we're not easy listening, but we want to be easy to listen to. Maybe that's going way back, but that's, you're quoted in one of your interviews saying that. Yeah, what took you guys down that path? Like, that's instead of like, I don't know, different types of genres of music, what took you down that path?
I mean, we started out playing punk music and like loud, aggressive music. And after we finished doing that, I think we knew that we kind of didn't want to do that anymore. We really loved bands like My Bloody Valentine, Slow Dive, shoegaze music when we moved to Austin. So we were kind of wanted to do something along those lines. But we used to also like cover Fleetwood Mac, like, but try to do it heavy and like dreamy. And I mean, my first record I ever bought was Out of Time, REM, and No Need to Argue by the Cranberries. Those are the first records I ever got when I was 7. And so I grew up listening to, my parents divorced when I was really young, and I think looking back on it now, I think my dad was real emo because he was just listening to the Cranberries all the time, and I loved to fingerprint, on me, listening to Chris Isaac and the Cars and all these things. And so I think I was always really influenced by kind of like easy listening pop music with a little bit of a rock edge to it. I think a lot of the guys that were in similar situations, I think it's just a thing that happens most naturally to us, to be honest. And then to go back to the outro thing you're talking about, I think we're all just suckers for repetition, because I feel like repetition is the most effective way to really like get people involved in the song, in a way where they're not necessarily actively listening to it anymore, but it's still affecting them on a emotional level, right? And then you can just keep incorporating new melodies, interesting melodies, keep it going and engage people in that way. I don't think that we're as interested in being like in your face, listen to me, like this is what I have to say to you, and more like let us just be a part of your existence while the music is on.
Very cool. Matter of fact, it's funny you said it, because on the repetition part, because on our intro to this podcast, I mean, you may have heard that that's actually Tim, and he's wailing on a Strokes song called Hard to Explain. And that riff is just a real repetitive riff. There's how can a riff be emotional? But I hear things in that riff, and Tim plays that just perfectly.
There's that there's always that like tension and release going on.
Yeah. It's having a conversation is what we always said. Make sure you have that good conversation, that good melody. So,
and before we show you this little surprise thing, Ryan, what can you tell us about what you guys are doing in the future, like future projects, or where, like if we wanted to, I know we can hear you on the internet and everything, but like if we wanted to come hear you live someday, where is it going to be? In Austin?
Yeah, we're doing like a hard work on music thing right now, so. We're not playing too many shows, but we do have a show April 22nd or 21st in Austin for Austin Psych Fest.
Oh, cool.
which is a festival that we have been playing since like 2010 or something like that. And yeah, it'll be. I think we're playing with Dean Warheim from Galaxy 500 is going to be there. Yola Tango is going to be playing, another one of our big inspirations.
Yeah, nice.
So yeah, that's the next show and only show I believe at this point.
That's awesome. Yeah, we definitely, I think, are going to try to do more to talk about you and some of the work. It really is addictive, to be honest with you. But
and we we were supposed to be in last year. We were supposed to play in Nashville with Starfucker. We were touring with them, but the tour had to be cut short due to some personal issues I think going on with Starfucker. Somebody's family had a member of the family that was sick, and so I feel like we've had a few, honestly, like in the last few years, we've had like 3 shows canceled in Nashville. We got to get back out there, but
Yeah, you do.
might be visiting you quicker than you might.
please let us know if you come to Nashville. I'm in Memphis, so I'm coming up. Yeah, Memphis, home of the blues.
Yeah, we played Memphis before too. We played one of the weirdest shows I think I've ever played in Memphis, and it was the show we ever played in Memphis.
Wait, Ryan, do tell.
We were on tour with a Nashville band called The Paperhead and an LA band called LA Witch. And it was just our 3 bands. We were doing like, I think we were touring from Austin to New York together, kind of maybe, or something like that. And the night before we had played a show in Springfield, Missouri. And then we went to Memphis. I forget the name of the place. But it was literally just our 3 bands at the show, watching the show, and 2 like 16-year-old girls or something, like 15-year-old girls.
And that was it.
And that was it, and the sound guy. So it was like, all right, whatever, this happens. We play the shows. We're all kind of trying to be supportive, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the night, I mean, this was probably back in 2013 or something like that. Like, we definitely were not at the point in our career where we had like hotel money and stuff. It was every night was like we were asking people at the crowd if we could stay with them or whatever. This night was different. So we were all sitting around amongst ourselves, figuring out what we were going to do. And those 2 15 or 16-year-old girls come up to all 3 of our bands. They're like, hey guys, sorry, we asked our mom if you could stay with us. And we're like,
thanks for asking, but we're totally good.
I won't come over. Yeah,
We had never
talked to them, never asked. They were just being, you know what I mean? But we were like, wow, I wonder what the hell her mom thinks about us.
yes. So Memphis is memorable. Absolutely, yeah.
And that was the last show we played there. I would like to go back. I loved it. I loved the food and whatnot. I don't know why I asked it down, but
Yeah. Wow. But please keep us posted on that. That'd be awesome.
Oh, no. I was going to say I prefer Memphis to Nashville as far as playing and music goes. Yeah. Like I said, Nashville, Tony, why are you getting ready? Nashville's more of a commercial now.
yeah,
Right.
it's to Boston.
Yeah. So we moved from Atlanta to here, and Atlanta was beyond commercial. Even the small venues was already taken, right? Just by money. That's all it was, right? Same thing with Nashville. It's just too commercial. But you go to Memphis, there's always a blues bar. Tony, like we met the Alex guy down in Atlanta. That's kind of people that you meet in Memphis, as people who love the music, who just play the music, who is just there for the music.
Sure, I'm gonna say it's like one of those classic music cities that wasn't really affected by like the
mainstream, yeah,
dream or some industry that kind of it was able to just kind of say that it unfortunately never like was able to become a wealthy city because of that, but it still has like this purity to it, I think.
Well, you get guys like us who just love music, and that's what it's, I'd rather listen to a no name any day. And unfortunately, Atlanta, you got Def Jams, which was owned by Run DMC, TLC, Quincy Jones put a lot out there. So once they realized there was a lot of money to be made, it was so hard to get a gig at that point. It's like, yeah, okay.
We do really love playing Atlanta though. We played at the 529, the bunch. Maybe it's the Earl that we played last time, but yeah, Atlanta's a really fun. We love Atlanta a lot.
Yeah, some of the best places. You got to go to Little Five. Just ask when you're there. There's some good places there. Stay away from underground unless you bring your own pistol. But I guess that's like playing in Memphis, right?
That's Memphis, right? Yeah.
We also really love Chattanooga. Strangely, it's a
Yeah.
fun place to play. Yeah, we played the place called JJ's Bohemia.
Actually, and then Tony, I'll let you go. One of my favorite things to do, and you'd be amazed at the famous people you meet there. Look for Cafe 290, I think is what it's called. And basically it's just a jam. You show up with your instruments and get on stage, but people there, they're semi-professional or professional. So, if you know how to play, just grab your guitar and it's just a jam. It's a jam band. It's called Cafe 290, I think is what it is. I'll send
In
it to you.
Chattanooga?
No, it's in Atlanta.
Atlanta, okay.
Yeah, but every Sunday we call it karaoke music because you just show up with your guitar and you just play. And a lot of the, so I went to Atlanta Institute of Music and all the instructors would go there and play.
I level playing.
Well, not really, because everybody's there for everybody. But you don't have amp and you don't have people who just learn how to play, right?
Go off to lunch and just be like,
yeah, there's just sitting back and just jamming, just enjoying the music. And every now and then you'll come across somebody famous because they just want to have fun, right? Not do the whole commercial thing.
and be around people that might not be awkward and annoying with them. Just meet them as a musician, a fellow musician, and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and just enjoy the music. And even if you don't feel like you're good enough to get up there and jam with somebody famous, they're like, hey, come on, just play rhythm. Just do this 4-chord jam and whatever you feel comfortable with. So it's I'll send it to you. It's one of my favorite places in Atlanta. Anyway, Tony, your turn.
Yeah, I'm excited to show this. Tim and I have been working on something here recently, and we wanted to sort of roll it out today, and it was perfect with Ryan, with you being on the show. And so let me show something. Let me set it up a little bit because there's a little bit to it. The 2 complaints that we got already on the podcast, and we love complaints, is that that we didn't have enough of a music bend. We talked about it, and Tim always played like outros, so we had that. There wasn't as much of a music. I feel like today we've broken that ground with you, Ryan. The other complaint is that the episodes before, Tim and I would sometimes say, well, we got this product we're working on. It's an AI product, but we never show it or do anything with it. And I'm not going to do a walkthrough for it today, but I did want to show the part that's related to music. And we would be the only product out there for IT operations guys or whatever that actually in their product celebrates music as opposed to just being, technology. So I just want to show this for you. And I want Brian's feedback because it has something to do with him specifically, but hopefully our viewers will like it too. So first off, let me just show, it's a software program that Tim really did a lot of work on designing, and it's called Scouted AI. But basically what it does is if you're an IT operations person, it gives you a chance to score everything you're doing real time. And so Tim sort of designed this to look at different applications that a company may have. And then they're able to look real time what the score is of how reliable it is. And so that's what this program does. But the thing that really is exciting that I wanted to show everybody and you, Ryan, is we've incorporated AI. Tim got certified, I think, a couple of years ago before it was even cool to actually be able to do AI inside the product and ask questions of it. And so we ask typical questions that you might expect, like, how can I make my reliability better? How can it predict for me what it could be? So we do all that, but here's what I wanted to show, the underbelly of what it is. So let me show you something else. So basically we call it our agentic army. It's an AI army, right? And so just like you said, Ryan, earlier, that it's sort of unavoidable. AI is like unavoidable. So at some point we have to embrace it to a certain extent. Well, that product that I just showed, which is our Scouted product, if you went behind the scenes, you would see this army of AI robots. And so Tim and the team, the technical team, have built all these robots. They're all AI and they're all custom made. So they're not like going to ChatGPT. We actually built our own. And each of these little fellows is a robot that does something specific. So, you can see that one of them does support, another one does IT metrics, another one does simulations, all boring stuff, right? But we have hidden inside the product Tenacious Tim, who is a robot, and his only job is to analyze all things guitar solos and music. But the trick, or the thing that we've trained that agent, that robot, the thing that we trained him to do is understand how our guest on the podcast relate to other issues such as IT and other musicians. So I wanted you to see the picture and then I'll show you the real thing. Okay, so this is behind the scenes. This is Tenacious Tim, and we're rolling him out this week. So Tenacious Tim, like I said, he can answer questions about IT stuff and all of the RPI scores that we do for IT, but he's also there to answer things related to music. So what I did is I've typed out some questions so you wouldn't have to watch me type. That would be torturous. So let me get the first one here. Now remember, this is the AI agent Tenacious Tim, and he's there to do anything that our customers, like for Scout It, like we have customers, some big customers actually right now, and they can ask it anything about IT, but I'm going to ask it things that sort of mix IT with music. So I'm just going to ask Tenacious Tim, what do you know about Holy Wave? And then just throw it out there. Now, our agents are custom, so we've told our agent that not only do we want to know about famous guitars, solos, and everything, but we want to know about every band that comes on this podcast. And so therefore, we tell our agent that it needs to learn everything it can about Holy Wave. And so within a few seconds, it comes back, and obviously this is what it learned about Holy Wave. And there you go. The band describes their sound as not easy listening, but easy to listen to. And then it gives some sources of where it found this stuff out about you. But now let me do another one. This is where it gets sort of fun. I hope you like it. Okay, here's my next question. Paste. I'm an IT ops guy and I have a lot of server backups to do for AWS today. What Holy Wave songs would be good for me to help me stay chill? All right, so now believe it or not, it's actually not just referencing data about Holy Wave and Ryan. It's actually trying to think, believe it or not, in an AI way, it's trying to think about what an IT ops doing server backups would most appreciate from Holy Wave. So that's the AI piece. So this is interesting. Start with tracks from Holy Wave's album Relax from 2014. Their song Wet and Wild would be a good choice, intentionally simple, but also effective. The band's overall style focuses on atmospheric, easy to listen to, while make it good while you're working on technical tasks. I love that. Makes perfect. Since they prioritize atmosphere over complexity, their music should help you stay chill without being distracted. So I thought that's pretty cool. Now watch this. Let's see here. Now I think you'll like this one. I hope you like the concept behind this question, but it shows you the power. When you look at the top 100 guitar solos of all time, this would be according to like Rolling Stone and Guitar World, which of them compare the best to Holy Wave? Which I think is a cool question.
It's going to be Lindsey Buckingham.
Wouldn't it be funny if Buckingham comes back? Comparing their approaches different. Here are a few notable comparisons. Stranglehold.
Oh, look at number one. That's funny.
Wow.
Ed Nugent, huh?
Similar to Holy Wave's atmospheric approach, and the early parts, that would have been Don Felder of Hot. Wasn't that Don Felder, Tim?
I guess the Hotel California thing for sure. But we like a lot of minor chords and minor sevenths and stuff like that.
Let me see. I got a couple more. All right. Now this one's sort of fun. Again, our shameless plug for our product, right, is that if a Scout It customer will be in this product all day asking questions technically, but we like to infuse important musical stuff into their AI agent, So this is the lead singer for Holy Wave is Ryan. And I said, what can you tell me about him? And if he were an IT ops guy, what principles of his could come in handy? Based on Ryan Fuson's approach to Holy Wave, here are some principles. And this is sort of cool. You can read it there. It's simplicity over complexity. And then it's telling me for IT ops, choose straightforward, reliable solutions and over unnecessarily complex ones. Tim, does that not ring a bell to what we do every day? Don't we hear it like John will say, don't overcomplicate it,
I mean, it's good advice.
Isn't that great? Focus on the atmosphere in your environment. Parallels good IT practices of maintaining a stable environment. That's cool. Iterative improvement, where they played a million different ways before finding the right version. The mirrors the IT principle of testing and refining solutions. communication. The band's focus on being a connector and communicator does well with us for system connectivity and communication. That's pretty cool, huh?
Does it actually analyze tracks, or is it more analyzing like literature about us online and things like that?
It's funny you say that. I think Tim and I had talked, we were going to throw some of your musical tracks, or not tracks, but like your chords or whatever, and let it look at it.
Yeah, because I was wondering if you could ask it things as specific as like, out of curiosity, what chords does Holywave favor the most, or things like that.
Let's try it.
Yeah. I mean, it may at least give you a feel, right? So major, minor, sevenths, ninths, right?
Things like that, yeah.
Yep.
And certainly I can tell you this, Ryan, that once we load the chords or music chords into it, it will analyze. But that's a good question. What would she do on her own?
I'm sure there's been some literature like or things that I've talked about, but I mean, that's another thing with technology nowadays is sometimes I use this app called I forget the name of it, but it basically analyzes songs on YouTube and stuff and will help you with like the chord arrangements and stuff like that. But it's all, I mean, it's insane the things that they're going to be able to start doing now when you're like, we have AI analyzing all of this information.
Right. Here's the last one for you. I need the 3 best songs from Holywave to listen to and why. Also, I need the RPI scores for ServiceNow and Teams. Tim, you like that? So we're going to make it multitask. I want you to go and think about Holywave and give me some songs, but also need you to do some IT work. This is an example of IT and music. Let's see what she comes up with here. There we go. Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Yeah, it's actually calling out why each of the songs would be fun for us. And then at the same part, it answers the IT questions that we needed to answer. So anyways.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I hope you like that. Me and Tim have been working on that. And
that's like it's a application that you guys offer to clients, or what is this open public, or is it like a subscription thing, or?
Yeah, it's a SaaS subscription. It's companies can, buy it or whatever, or rent it, just subscribe to it. And what it does is it looks at all of their data, their servers, their applications, and so forth, and it assigns those scores to them. And then the biggest part really for me is the AI, because you can tell it. Think about it this way: if you're running that application that you talked about, where you go scrape YouTube and get the chords and everything, and you really counted on that. Well, this application would tell you at any time how reliable that is, or if it's messing up on you. And then you could ask it questions. Well, is it better today than it was 5 weeks ago or 10 weeks ago? And it has all that data. So it's true AI.
So when you have an AI, I'm not too, knowledgeable on the subject, but when you have programs like that, is it constantly scrubbing the internet? I mean, at all times, 24/7, or?
I'll let Tim, he's an AI certified guy.
Not really. Like, it's not just constantly scanning the internet because it doesn't know what questions you're going to ask, right? So when you ask the question, let's break it down to make it simple. A lot of times when people don't know what AI is, to get started, I say think of it as Google on steroids, right? We always use the term Google, right? Go Google it, right? Well, that was a company at one time, right? I mean, it still is, but so now AI has kind of took that way further, and it can look at all these data from all these locations, depending on what it has access to, way faster than a human can. So that's really what it's kind of doing at a high level, and then along the ways you kind of train it, right? So train it, think about like a kid, and Tony's beyond an expert on this. So I can say, Tim Higgins is a crappy guitarist. Well, if I tell my kids that every single day, it doesn't matter how good I am, they're gonna be like, yeah, my dad kind of sucks, So the AI is almost the same way. I can say, you're a smart AI, give me a good answer, or, you've had a bad day, stay away from Google, but go look at, Yahoo, which is crap, right? So, but again, it's not don't think of it as looking at the internet. It's actually looking at data that's been saved. So it's not just scraping the web, as we call it, right? It actually has access to certain data releases. Like I can say, forecast the weather next year for Georgia, right? And it's smart enough to look at the weather's database it has access to because it's a public domain. And then it can take algorithms to figure out that forecast and say, here's what it's going to be for the next year. Now, is it accurate? That's its best guess, but it's going to be better than mine, right? So
is that like a benefit of certain AI programs? Is that are companies trying to? Is there like a competition to get access to will certain businesses only sell their access to certain AI companies and things like that? You know what I mean?
yes and no. So companies like Facebook, right? Theirs is out there, which is sad because we all been using Facebook for decades. So you got to look back and say, well, how long they been keeping this data, right?
A lot of information on us that AI has access to. Yeah,
exactly. So Facebook, Amazon, right? Any of these people that's kept data for years, a lot of their stuff is public, but you can create your own private. And odds are private, especially medical, right? Elon Musk is spending money to get into, well, him and Trump are spending money to get into the AI medical field. Well, they're not going to make that public, right? Because that's your private information. So it really just depends. A lot of times people want you to be public with your data unless it's really legally impossible, right? Yeah. So with saying that, to answer your question in a worse way, because I digress bad, guitar players do. But the idea is there's so many people out there with public data that it can scrape that public data faster than any browser or any person. You just got to imagine a billion little robots, which is what Tony was showing, that just, they just boom, let me go see what I can find. Bam, let me get it together. But you got to remember, computers were invented to do math to begin with. So it can do math faster than anything else, right? So it says, oh, I got all this data. Now what am I going to do with it? Oh, well, we're going to do something with it. And now we give you intelligent information. What makes it the AI is what information it gives you. The rest of it is, machine learning and grabbing data. For years, you probably heard people say that Facebook and Amazon and Google have more data than a human could ever look at. Yeah. So that's what the AI does. It says, oh, well, I can look at it. Let me see it. And that's what it.
So, okay. So this is the interesting section of the podcast where it's you guys giving simple concepts to musicians that don't know shit about. You hear all these like buzzwords kind of online, and Seek was something that we were hearing about, changing AI game. There's also this is the thing I'm kind of interested in, is I had been hearing, and I tried to look into this a little bit. There wasn't much information, but they had been saying that there was something like a breakthrough on something called a quantum chip.
Yeah, it's just faster, right? So it's a faster chip.
It made it seem like it was faster in like almost an impossible to understand kind of way. Is that accurate or?
Yeah. So kinda, not to digress too much. And again, Tony can throw a knife at me. But you got to think about a lot of the AI. The reason they treat it like a human is because it uses algorithms that are similar to the human body, right? So it's called the neuron networks, and it works just like what's in your system. And it's not just Amazon, it's all of them work that way. So when you got these chips, though, you got to think about when I said who can gather that data the fastest. That's going to be your chip, right? So for an example, I don't know what computer you're using, but I got a Mac Studio that blows my Windows laptop out of the water, right? I forget how fast it is. Well, think about it. If I say, who is Ron and why in the world does he like Portishead and does he even like Glory Box by Portishead, right? Who would have that database? Right. But these little bots would shoot out there and say, oh, he's a Portishead fan. Glory Box was probably one of their biggest hits. So yeah, of course he's a fan. But that was exactly. And that's the AI part of it. AI is saying, oh, well, I'm going to relate this together. And it doesn't have to be math. Some of it's common sense, right? Is it going to rain today? I don't know. The weather says it is. So yeah, it's going to rain. But
the AI part of it is it's willing to make decisions based on the information it has.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, if you've heard people say Gen AI, it really means generative or generating new content. And that's what generative AI does. Like Tim said, it gets all available information and then it has the capability to generate its own new content. So that's why I get a kick out of when I ask it that question. Tim and I basically trained, or like I said, we trained Tenacious Tim to understand the greatest guitar solos of all time. And then as a band comes on the show, we add them to that. So we want you to learn everything about the greatest guitar solos and Holy Wave. And then the next one, it'll be and Ted Nugent or whatever, right? And so I got a kick out of when it answered when I said, I need to stay chill today while I'm doing my IT work. Which Holy Wave songs would do that? And it says, well, now this is going to be very chill if you listen to this. That's it. It's making its own decision. There's no database out there that said, if you need to be chill, here are the 3 Holy Wave songs. There's no such thing, right? It made the decision based upon what it knew about Holy Wave that I should listen to these 3 songs because they'll keep me chill. That's pretty scary.
It is. And also, like, as it gathers more information, it'll only get more accurate theoretically.
Yes. Yeah. Like I said, it's like a kid. You have to teach it, good or bad, right? You're teaching it. And the funny thing is, like, your band is out there so much now today with technology. So I'm assuming you're on Spotify, right? Yeah, I saw the whole list. And obviously you're on Facebook, Instagram. So this agent's able to grab all that data. And that's when, to Tony's point, it can say, well, what are some reviews some people have said? What is some of the, I don't know how they can label. I don't do Spotify, but I should. Not to advertise, but I do Amazon Music instead. But my kids do Spotify. But with saying that, it's looking at these reviews. You got to imagine everything, and we've told people this for years, everything's out there on the internet, right? Everything can be found. And that's what these agents are doing. So, and it's grabbing all this information and making it logic to where it makes sense to you, right? So like for an example, did Ron ever listen to Pink Floyd? You probably never typed that anywhere out there, but I'm a huge Pink Floyd fan. And it can go back and say, well, given some of the styles that they play, Pink Floyd started off as a drug band, to be honest with you, for fun. They still kind of are, which is awesome. But with saying that, they can say, well, their tastes are pretty similar. Obviously, Ryan likes Pink Floyd. And given the taste, he probably likes before Dark Side of the Moon, right? So
you're right. But your AI is a little off because I think Dark Side is my favorite Pink Floyd album. But I love them all. I mean, metal is amazing. I love people.
Yeah.
It's the cliche album. I mean, obviously I love the Sid Barrett stuff, but I mean, there's a reason Dark Side of the Moon is that pop. It's just a perfect record.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Exactly. So
more solos are best solos of all time right there.
So the cool thing is when you put stuff out to the internet, just remember Tony can always find it.
And I know Tony is fallen.
Yeah. Oh, and the bad thing is, so I was digressing real quick. The sad thing is, if you Google Tim Higgins, you wouldn't find any of my stuff because our stuff was before the database era, right?
So wow. Well, so Tony can't even find you?
I've got Tim, Ryan. Trust me, I know where he is.
Yeah, I pay to stay hid. No, I'm just kidding. I don't.
This is sort of the final thing that we do each podcast. So I've got my fingers crossed today. So for this episode, Ryan, the question is this: I've removed. This is a death match, and we do this every show between Ferrari and Maserati. But the question is this: you're gonna be hanging out, driving up and down Austin, the fun road and everything, and you just want to chill, just want to relax, maybe drive a little fast. Once you get out of town, come back in town and have some fun. Of these 2 cars, the question is, which one do you want to do that in this Friday night?
I got to go Ferrari. That's a beautiful Ferrari right there.
So you're going to go with the one on the left?
I think so, yeah.
Hey, Ron, I'll tell you a secret. Look behind Tony. That's not a Ferrari.
I saw that. And I was good at choosing because of the, what's his face? The guy from the Eagles. What's his name again?
Joe Walsh.
Joe Walsh. I was thinking, yeah, I love that song. I love Joe Walsh.
Yeah.
And I love my Maserati, but the slight curve, like the curviness of the Ferrari,
right,
a little bit more, I don't know.
The curviness. And I was worried about that. We were saying on the previous podcast, we were saying, look, man, we can't even eat if we don't get a sponsor, man. We need a sponsor. And I said, where are you, Maserati? Where are you?
I will say that if you would have given me the first 2, I would have picked for our Maserati.
Maserati, thank you. So that's a consolation.
I think he's just kissing up, dude. It's fun.
Yeah. I'm just crushed at this point because it's like every week. I've given up even hoping, right? It's just, I'll just put them out there, whatever.
If
So.
you would have put a BMW 2002 on any one of those, I would have picked that one.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
I
Interesting.
love BMWs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, Ryan, we can't thank you enough. I know we've got an interesting outro today, Tim. We're going to talk about it here in a little bit and discuss what the outro is. But for myself, I just can't. Ryan, this has been incredible. If you ever come to Memphis or Nashville, please let us know. And for those out there who've listened or listening to your music and watching this, it sounds like Austin is the place to check them out and check their website or everything to see when they're going to be playing. But Ryan, thank you so much. I hope this was something interesting to you.
At last. I hope you all a bunch of success, and I'll be telling people to check out the podcast.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Ryan.